Hi, friends. Hello, the world. So excited to be here with my wonderful guest, Victoria, to talk about money. And Victoria, after having a conversation with you last time, which was very fascinating, I thought the topic of this conversation should be money with soul. And the reason why I say that is because I find that at least, so I'm a humanitarian worker and I used to be for 10 years. And I realized that I had this mindset of treating money like a lover, like very secretive, hiding, not showing to anyone, not really secure about it, not knowing what the future was that person, but only with money, right? So and also thinking that if the money is spent on the humanitarian cause, then that's a good person or the good money. In other words, money with soul. If money is not spent that way, then it's an evil money. So anyway, so there is a lot of this moral in quotes around money that I realized. So I've worked through a lot of that and I'm happy to share. So that's why I thought for my humanitarian fellow workers that I dearly love, this topic could be very interesting. So that's why who's better to talk about money than you, who had an amazing story that I will let you introduce and talk about all the money. So, Victoria, welcome. Thank you so much for
Wow.
being
Wow.
here. Tell me all the things.
Yeah. So that's a heavy topic. And just to be very transparent with you, I mean, I have a healthy relationship with money, but it's something I still have to struggle to work through almost every day
Mm,
because of my background. So, and I'll your listeners a little bit involved in my background because then they'll get some context about that.
yeah.
So I grew up in a small little seaside village in South Korea, and from birth to until about 10, 12 years old, at that age you're still, I mean, at least when I was growing up, you really didn't understand how money plays into your life. In fact, our schools don't teach anything about money at all. They teach math, but they don't teach money.
Yeah.
So, and the relationship with money and what it actually means, we don't do that. So what happened is, at that time, I didn't know a lot about it. And I had no interest in it. And then when I came to America, because my father thought that since he had four girls, he wanted the four girls to be able to choose their own future. The society was very much into, if you're a girl, your sole purpose in life is to procreate and help your guy, right? Or find the right guy to, make sure that he succeeds.
Yeah.
So since he had four girls, he came to America, and that's the first time the whole issue of money kind of hit me. My
Mm,
parents had no money. They found that they only had $30 because the Korean government like froze all his money. So the money, and then the money that he thought he had sent over, that never went. So we had no money. And when you have no money and you don't speak English, you don't understand the culture. So when you have no money, you don't speak English, you can't communicate with people, so you have no friends, and you can't go get
yeah.
a job. We didn't have a car, so all those difficulties kind of like it just happened overnight.
Yeah.
And so, and then fast forward, I went on to build a nine-figure business, and we'll go into how I built that business. But coming from that background and in building my business, I had to travel to like some of the poorest parts of the world, very deep inside China, where people are getting paid very low wages, 30 to $100 a month, and they kind of live on campus. So when I try to spend money that I worked really hard to earn, I mean, I have never cheated anybody. I've treated all my employees more than fairly. My employees, it's a known fact. We try to find what their market value is, and we overpay them by 25 to 30%, and we give them all the benefits that the giant corporations would give you, such as 401k, healthcare, all that stuff. So even though I paid all my taxes, all that stuff, when I want to buy like a luxury item, I think about the person who made it. I think about,
Mm,
the that what allowed me to have the money, my
Yeah.
employees, all the people that, in the factories that produced my jewelry that I make. So in that sense, I still struggle through that. And I've never been able to like really luxuriate myself, in things. So that's my background. But when it comes to um, just my feeling on money is, and I've gone through my whole relationship journey with money, where I thought, when I was like literally almost starving, because my parents, like, he would come home with one single orange, and he would cut them in like 8 sections, because there's seven people in my family. And from that beginning, so when I was living there, I used to think, if I ever got a ton of money, I wouldn't be so selfish, right? I wouldn't be so selfish.
Mm.
I would share it with other people. Like, why do these people who have everything in the world, like, for example, I'm just going to show you something funny. The first time I flew in from Asia back into California. So I'm on a flight, and they're like flying low, and they had to circle. So we're going from like Santa Barbara all the way down to San Diego. They have to circle like, so many times. And all these homes that are right on the water all have these giant swimming pools you could see from the top, and nobody's
Mhm,
in it,
mhm.
right? So you're like, whoa, that's a complete, but that's just an example I used to think was just so selfish and greedy. But I now have a very healthy relationship with money, so I'm excited to talk about that.
Amazing, Victoria. So I'm so excited that we're going to dive into this because I think one of the main purposes that I wanted to work on my money issues,
Yeah,
to have that healthy relationship, because I realized that as long as I have this relationship of a lover, as I said, like an analogy, right? As long as I have that, I will never have that financial freedom. I will never have that security that I want to have about money. And most importantly, I think I don't want money to be this giant issue to be processing over all the time, or this issue that I am a slave to it in a way, because my mind
yeah,
always thinking about how to get money or how to earn it or how to have it enough so that I can have all the other things that I want to have. And I don't want money to be that obstacle to having all the things that I want in life, right? So that's why I think one of the reasons why I wanted to process all of these issues was that to have that freedom to say, I can have whatever amount I want to. I can have all the things I want to in life, and I don't want money to be standing in between. And that's the reason why I wanted to have this podcast with you to talk about having it all and money not being the obstacle.
yeah,
And also wanting to help all these wonderful people that we want to help. And, because a lot of the work that we do, obviously, are charity work, and we want to, and humanitarian work, and we want to do that. But I want myself also contribute to that, not from the lack mindset, but from the having abundant and enough and wanting to do this work. So that's why, Victoria, let us maybe dive into the first question that I want listeners also to think about is, why is it so difficult to have that financial freedom? What do you think?
yeah. So I think that my podcast, Million Dollar Passion, is about turning your passion, and live your life, run your business, run your humanitarian effort with passion, right? So not
Mhm.
with resentment, not with worry, not with, I could be doing this other thing, or I really need to make money, but I'm here helping out because this is more important. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be everything, right?
Yeah.
So here's the way I went about it. I'm not sure, I'm not in a position to really judge anybody about their lives, but here's the way I went about it. And I'm going to send you a disclaimer that, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I'm looking back in the rearview mirror of all the decisions I have made, which turned out to be pretty good, actually, because I do have everything. I do believe that for me, I have money, I have a great relationships. I could help other human beings. I could help other, pets. I support a lot of different charities, and I'm able to do that financially and emotionally. So, and I have great health. So I feel like my journey has been healthy for me. And the decisions I made actually were just survival tactics for me at the time. So here's the deal. If you chase money for the sake of money, then the money will never come. But if you chase your passion, I mean, you are so good at what you do that you can't be ignored. You're so good at your passion shines so brilliantly whenever you talk to anybody that, you know, when somebody talks to you, asshole, like they people know, oh my God, like this woman is just a bright light in everybody's day, that, you know, it doesn't matter whether she's hurting for money or not, she's got a lover or not. She's always that consistent, you know, amazing, optimistic person. Okay. If that shows through, and you find a way to monetize it where people are running towards you to pay a little bit of you or a little bit of your product, then you make money. So this is the way you make your money honestly. You make your money empowering other people, because what you're doing is you're lifting everybody else's spirits. You're permeating their optimism. You're permeating, hey, you can do this. We can do this together. So first of all, emotionally, you're enriching everybody else. And secondly, if you sell a product, because, you know, let's say you have, you know, this Alex and Ani is a great example. They did a lot of, you know, jewelry that expresses their feelings, you know, the peace in the world, all that. So, you know, that brand, I think the owner, you know, she started the company with like $10,000, and she's very into charity. So what happened was, I think they sold it for like 650 million bucks or something. Now, nobody should punish her for that, because like they did great things, you know, and all that. So I feel like if you live a purpose-driven life, and which most of your humanitarians already have, right?
Yes.
And that's and every decision you make is purpose-driven. It's pretty easy to monetize, because, you know, if you're, it also depends. I mean, I said, like, way back when, my American dream, at the time when I was living in an apartment that I think my father paid like 50 bucks a month or something. I mean, this was a long time ago, but even back then it was pretty low. Okay. Like, it was really low. And there was a reason why it was low. But when I was living there, I said to myself that if I could just rent my own apartment, so I didn't have to burden my dad, and I, you know, could get a little place of my own, and I could pay my own rent, and I could, you know, sustain my family without having to worry about my food or anything like that, that'd be great. And what would it take for me to have that? So it was like 2,000 bucks a month, and I was willing to live on that. I mean, and that's why I started my business, because I believed in myself, and my priorities were that I didn't want to leave my children the way my parents had to leave me. They had to, like, work 2 jobs each. They worked on weekends. You know, I rarely saw them once we got to America. So that was the beginning. And every single decision I've ever made in business prioritize that lifestyle first. So for example, like when, you know, when HSN, the TV station here, told me they wanted me more, and I'm like, no, I can't go more. And now every time I say no, like on a Thanksgiving weekend, that could have been like $1 million weekend. And I would say no. You know, Thanksgiving, Easter, you know, my kid's birthday, Mother's Day, these are completely off limits. I mean, I'm blocking those dates out. I'm not coming. Let somebody else make 20 million bucks. You know, I don't want it. I don't want a part of it. So, and the dates that I'm given, I usually make that, you know, really worth it, because you're really still purpose driven. You made that decision consciously. They didn't say, oh, you're not good enough to be on Thanksgiving weekend, so we're going to give you this 3 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't that. I chose that, right? And I was willing to, and they could have said, hey, this woman is difficult. We don't want her on TV. They could have just kicked you off. But and they do kick people off. I mean, there's a 99% failure rate on TV. And I've said, you know, it's just also how you deliver it too. It's very politely. And I would say, look, you know, I came from a family where my parents were very rarely present. And this is my purpose in life, is to be there for my mom, you know, who has sacrificed so much. And, you know, I don't have very many years with her. In fact, when my grandmother died, I actually had like a $2 million day set on that day. And it was, you know, I was still getting ready to fly, because my grandmother was 104, and she had passed away like Wednesday. And I had the big today's value on Saturday. And I was getting ready to fly. I just hated it. But I thought, you know, it's such short notice, even though this was death. And I thought, oh, well, you know, my customers, do they deserve like a no-show? So yeah, I was really conflicted, but I thought, you know, I should still, you know, even though I don't feel good about it, there's nothing I could do to bring her back, right? Her funeral was not till
Mhm.
next week. So I was getting on a plane, and the vice president of jewelry at that time, his name is John Bosco, he called me up and said, hey, forget about it. Stay home, take care of your mom, because that's her daughter, my grandmother's daughter. Take care of your children, and we'll work things out. And because they all knew how much this whole event meant to me. So,
Mhm.
this was I mean, cold, hard corporation that still showed heart because I showed it first, right?
Mm.
So I think that if you live a purpose-driven life and everybody sees you as that example,
Yeah.
um, and even when I say no, a lot of these people that work in these corporations that are just just cutthroat and they seem that way, they at the end may still like I've had some of them really be nasty to me, but at the end of the day there's a part of them that still respect you for that.
Yeah.
They do. and
Absolutely.
and when push comes to shove and they really need somebody to deliver, they call me because they know if I say yes, I'm the kind of person that would always do it.
Yeah.
I just don't say yes to things that I don't think are good for me. So
Yeah.
I think that so what I'm saying is that when you do that, number one, money will come.
Yeah.
They will come if your conscience is very clear, you live a very purpose-driven life, and you're happy, radiating, permeating this amazing yourself, who's you're lovable. Yes, most people who care, most people who have a heart, most people who have a soul, we're always vulnerable. You can't, you know what I mean? Because you care.
Yeah.
You're vulnerable. If you're not vulnerable, then you're not a human. You're a fake person,
Yes.
or you're very egotistical or self-centered. I mean, those are the only people that are not vulnerable.
Yeah.
But most of us who put ourselves out every day, and do something because we're passionate about something, we care so much that every little thing will impact our emotional state. So you are
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you are vulnerable, don't hide it. Let people know where you're vulnerable.
Yes.
Let people know where your challenges are, because people will actually help you. They
Yeah.
want to be useful. They want to help.
Yeah.
Look at all your humanitarian friends. They're out there trying to help somebody. And if you sit there, well, I don't need any
Absolutely.
help. Well, what are you going to do? Right. So you can clearly see this person needs help, but you're like, no, I don't really need any help. I'm
Yeah.
okay. Well, no, let them know. Look, honestly, I could use a little more help here, or I struggle with, whatever, or my three main challenges are, like if you go to, build a school in Africa or whatever, and, and you say, hey, what are your three challenges
Yeah.
that, why can't you build 20 of them? What are your challenges? Number one is funding. Number two is manpower. And number three could be, you know, um, people don't know about it. They don't believe in it. I have a really hard time doing the work on the ground and raise money and awareness. It's just a lot of work. Well, okay, well, I can help you with one of these things,
Yeah.
but you can't be sitting there acting like don't need any help. You're this, superwoman, or that you don't have any issues, because we all do. And
Yes.
and when you work through your issues, there'll be new issues.
Yeah.
There'll be new stresses, right? So it's a constant thing, and it's okay. It's really okay.
Yes.
And when it comes to money, and I've known people who have done 9, 10 figures, really. I mean, I'm pretty close to having done 10 figures now, because I've done 500, that's 9 figures. And I've known a lot of people, famous people, all these people. They're all human. They have, things that are working through. I mean, it's, what, Assel, is it any wonder why, when you look at successful people, like not just in Hollywood, we're talking like, in the sports field or even
Yeah.
in entrepreneurship, the people who seem to have everything, they're billionaires with jets and, all these multiple homes, a lot of them are, working on their sixth marriage because their things aren't working, right? They got, they're addicted to something, whatever. So it's not something that money that goes to prove the fact that money doesn't buy happiness. In fact, it could
Balance.
actually be some of the sources of some of your most unhappy moments or unhappy life. So,
Mhm.
to me, money itself isn't good or evil. It is who has it, how do you get it, and how it's used,
Yeah.
and for what purpose, right? So if you have, so I would say that, so in my case, I wanted to be at home with my kids. So the idea that I wanted to make $2,000 a month, but I wanted to only work 20 hours a week.
Mhm.
So I was able to do that. I was able to, just stick to the 20-hour week, but I chose those hours. I worked before my kids went to school, and then I worked after they went to bed. So I had these two extreme shifts. I had to be willing to do that, get up at 5 every morning and go to sleep at, 10 or 11 every night. And then, I worked these time zones like 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. I worked at European contacts there. It's about midday because I live in California. And then 9 p.m. is noon Asia. So I opened the stores in London and Paris first. And then in the evenings, so in between, when my kids got off school, like between 2 to 9 p.m., I actually, didn't work at all. I mean, I just figured if somebody gets mad at me because I didn't call them back in 2 hours, I don't really want that customer.
Yeah.
They're very disruptive to me. They're disruptive to my employees, because they can't plan. Occasionally, in retail, if somebody sells out of, 9 things in one day and they really feel like they need it, they can leave a polite message. I can deal with that. But I am not selling heart valves here. They could call 911. So I had that working thing. And then as my business got, bigger and bigger, here's the other thing too, is I knew um, when my husband was also really broke. And when we first started our company, we had no money. I didn't even have any money to make a single sample, like, so I had to draw them out and all that. So we had no money, and we made a promise to ourselves, and this in humanitarian field, you go to, you go to a group or a person or whoever, you help them out, you do everything you can, and then they grow like crazy, and they're very successful. And then they forget where they came from. They don't pay it forward. So what happened was, I've seen, I've always been very involved in helping other people. Like if somebody's suffering, I just can't help it. I just have to go and help them. Even if I'm hurting, there's somebody who hurts more. So what happened was when we started our company, we made a promise to ourselves that if we, by any chance at all, if we ever get successful, and successful meaning like, maybe make $100,000 or something, that we would give a percentage of our not profits, percentage of our revenue to great causes that are non-religious and non-political. Because our employees, like I have a Jewish girl, a Muslim girl, a Buddhist, and I've got a bunch of atheists, that they all contribute to my company. So I'm not going to pick, something. So, very uncontroversial, like child hunger relief, disease, like, we do American diabetes, all the different kind of diseases. So basically, we made that promise. It's in our company charter, way back when, and we continue to do that. But the company has evolved. We've done a lot more than what we ever thought possible. So, I do spend now a lot of time, helping out the charities that are there. They can't actually get money on their own. They're not a glitzy cause. They don't have a superstar, like championing your thing. So a lot of small causes that they can't raise money, we try to help them out more because they'll use their money more efficiently.
Yeah.
So the point I'm making is this. I started my business with the purpose of spending time, and I stuck to that. I didn't say when things got tough, this week I need to work 60 hours. I'm going to have to find a babysitter. Next week comes and you're like, oh, geez, next week I need to work 80 hours. I'm going to have to hire a babysitter. And the following week, you're exhausted. You have to sleep. So even though you're there, your kids really don't have you. And then the next week, you're like, you know what? This was a mistake. I'm just going to hire a nanny until, I get a little further along in my business. Obviously, whatever you're doing isn't working. So, you got to shift, do your thing. So I think what makes my story really unique is that I never actually looked for money. The money just kind of came because of all the other things I was doing, and with that too, I thought, if I'm here on earth, what is my purpose? What is my purpose in life? And whatever my purpose is, and I didn't figure that out until much later, but until my father had died. But here's the thing. Whatever it is that your purpose is, in the meantime, you have to live a life that's transparent. And you got to make an honest living. And you can never really knowingly deceive any customers. When I say customers, like my customers are typically corporate customers, but the end user, the lady who's going to call the 1-800 number, or who buys it, same thing. If I know, for example, there's a better quality stone, for example, like I was selling some selling some jewelry, and I said to them, okay, I'm going to tell you right up front, and TV stations really don't like it when I say that. I say, this isn't the most premium quality where the movie stars are buying it, whatever. This is something that I'd be proud of, because I wish I could give you all, like the flawless everything, but for nothing. But it's not reality, right? So I tell people, look, this, what I have here, is eye clean, it's beautiful. This is what it's 2, 3, 4, 5 grades higher than most people do. And you know what, I would give this to my mother. My mother gets the best I could afford. And I go to nice places. I mean, I go to a lot of nice places. I'm proud to wear these pieces. So it's not like the flawless, perfect thing, but it is better than almost 99% of what you buy out there. And it happens to be cheaper than like Tiffany's or whatever. So people can understand that. They know, like when they're paying $100, that you're not getting like an heirloom jewel from the Tower of London. It's just not going to happen, right? So just be honest, and I tell people, like, look, if I could bring you better quality for less money, I would. But to me, this is, when you're wearing this every day, I don't go to, and by the way, a lot of stuff that's on the red carpet, they're not perfect either. So when I sell jewelry, I tell people, I'm very transparent. Like when, even today, like I was on TV yesterday. That's why we had to record it today. So when I'm on live TV, like that whole prep work is just insane. But people will go on TV today and talk about how tanzanites are completely extinct and blah, blah, blah. Like everything's going to sell out now and there's going to be no more mining. So it's true to an extent, but believe me, if you paid me $4 million today to find a specific tanzanite, I can find it for you any time of the day, right? So what I say to people is, tanzanite is harder to source now. It's harder to, it is getting, difficult for me to bring things at this price, the same quality. But I tell people, look, there was a time when we didn't know anything about Tanzania. I mean, tomorrow morning I could get up and read a Wall Street Journal piece saying that Tanzania just found a whole new mine. We don't know. Just if you're gonna buy it because you love it, not because it's gonna be some investment. Because I'm not a financial advisor, so I tell people up front. Yeah. And what happens is, like, when everybody else is saying, "Oh my God, gold is going up and everything is going up, and there's gonna be no more mining," and they're terrorized and they buy it. I don't want any terrorized customers. I want people that are happy. Yeah. So when I go on TV and talk about, how things are transparently, I get a lot of people who want jewelry. They buy it from me because they know they're getting straight facts. So I think even when I say I've made my money honestly, you just have to always be transparent. You also have to, your purpose in life. Like, I tell people, when you're a designer, you're always vulnerable because, you give your heart and soul into a particular, let's say I love butterflies, and, your customers are like, we love butterflies too, but not that one, that's too gaudy or that's too whatever. We can, it really hurts my feelings. But on the other hand, I love the feedback as well. And I'm a pretty good listener. So I would say that all of you who are out there working, putting your heart and soul into, any project. And, when you're doing, and I've known a lot of humanitarians who's actually built hospitals in Nepal, places like that. I remember somebody was saying, I have a good friend of mine who kind of has his own little Doctors Without Borders. He goes to the Amazon River, Nepal, India, all these places, and he gets a bunch of his friends over to kind of take over his shift. So there's like a doctor at this hospital all year round, but different doctors go in and out of there, right? And he said, oh my God, I just worked my life and just begged for money. And, I literally, it was like an act of God to go and build the state-of-the-art hospital and get equipment over there and, do all this stuff. And there's no customers, that nobody comes to the hospital. And they have to actually beg people to come in. Like, we're not going to kill you. We're not going to charge you. And And, you know, it's really interesting. So when you go through all that and you're like, oh my God, you know, we're going to need 10 doctors because everyone's going to want to get themselves checked out. Well, nobody came for like a month. He was really confused, you know? And so he said he met with the village doctor. People still went to these old, I guess, you know, the doctor, not a doctor, but like a medicine man, went over there and said, you know, hey, we're not going to kill anybody. We're not going to tell anybody you're bad. You know, why don't you send them over? And the village doctor said, you know, of course, like if you know, I'm in to make sure that people are healthy. And of course, if somebody got into a car accident or, you know, any kind of a trauma, they would go to the hospital right away. But, you know, we
Mhm.
live out here, we don't have, you know, cars, we don't get into these things, you know, and anything that's chronic, that takes 40, 50 years for people to have, you know, it takes that long to get rid of it. So, you know, our people just aren't used to um, going to a hospital for every little thing. So he had to kind of accept that and, you know, find different ways to impact people. So, you know,
Mhm.
you are very vulnerable, you know, even these medical doctors who have Ivy League degrees, you know, you go out there, when they put their heart and soul and their time into it,
Yeah.
yes, you are vulnerable. And that's a good thing.
So, so sorry for interrupting, but I think so some of the things that I'm taking from what you're saying is, which is also what I try to tell people, is that it's great that we can, design our lives the way we want. We want to be living our lives with that purpose, whatever is important to us, taking care of them and wanting to be and spending more time with them, and also being transparent and honest. And I think one of the reasons why often people come to this conclusion that money is evil or money is not good, especially if it's in big millions and all this, because we don't really know where it's coming from, or an ordinary person, let's say in quotes, cannot really produce that amount of money. And in the humanitarian world, what I'm noticing also is that, some of the corporates who are working in these countries, they might have been involved in exploitation,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they are the cause of why conflicts are erupting, because of which refugees, displaced people are
Hmm.
um, uh, coming out and seeking protection in other countries. And the interesting part also is that I was thinking about is that the money that comes to help these humanitarian work, I was looking at the statistics for UN only, for the
Yeah.
United Nations. I don't know about others, but for United Nations, that big chunk of those money come from certain governments, such as US government,
Mhm.
European Union,
Yeah.
right? And those governments obviously get the money from taxpayers, essentially you and other people, i.e. corporates, or i.e.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs who are making money. So this is the whole cycle that I've just outlined, just to show that I think humanitarians have, on the one hand, wanting to have more money to help these people. On the other hand, also probably bound by the money that's coming in from those governments who are taking money from the entrepreneurs, from the
Right.
corporates, who are probably taking money again from those
The very people you're trying
places.
to help. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
this is a bit
Yeah.
like a vicious circle, unfortunately, in some of the cases. And I think this also makes us distrust a bit how the money is made, and whether on the individual level we want to make that money or not. So what I'm trying to say with all of this is how ethical or how honest really can one, on the individual level, we're not really talking about the
Yeah.
corporates because that's something
Right.
that I personally don't really have interest in, but let's look at the personal level. You were saying that you've built the uh, the the business that you have with honesty, with transparency, and you're
Right.
saying also that you've started everything from scratch, where no investment, no money was
Right.
available.
Yeah.
So I really want our listeners to say, so if she did it, and if she did it in the way that was honest, in the way that to the best of your abilities, knowing how this whole chain works,
Right. Yeah.
and you can make that money, then anyone else can. So what would you say to that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that every one of you who are listening right now can do it, and I'd say here's a reason why I do that. I'm not just saying it just to give you hope. What I will say is this, and you know what? It's really true because I believe that without passion, without like really extreme passion about something, you have nothing in life. You're just existing. You're not thriving.
Yeah.
So you're lucky if you're surviving at all. Because
Mm,
if you have no interest, no passion, nothing, you're just existing. So all of you who are listening here, and you're in the humanitarian field, first of all, you are doing something that most 99% of the people in the world won't do. Okay. The
mm,
easiest thing in the world for entrepreneurs to do is write a check to some charity that's calling and say, oh, I helped out so and so. They don't even know what they do.
yeah.
They know nothing. Okay. It's just for their own conscience to just write a small check. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're, I remember one time I was at a Las Vegas convention. Jewelers have a lot of money typically because, jewelry sells for a lot of money. And we just saw a performance by Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was like a big, gala event. We're all dressed up, like head to toe heels, walking by. And there's a guy, no arms, no legs. He's just like a torso and a head. And he's just sitting there, and he had these like a drumsticks like tied to his arm. He was playing the drum, and there was like a little hat for money. And all of us who were all dressed up, walking by, and literally everybody, like, our hearts sank, like, oh my God, like we just had this like $500 meal. Walking out, our hearts sank. And but how many people actually did anything to change his life? No one.
Mm,
They like, left a $2 bill, $5 bill, whatever. That's not going to change this guy's life at all. Okay. If you drop money after you spend that kind of an evening for 2, $3, that's you saying, I did something about it. And you haven't done a thing really, because
mm,
that $2 meant nothing to you, really. If you're
yeah.
paying the kind of the gala ticket was like $500. So I think that the easiest thing for entrepreneurs or anybody to do is write a check. What's hard is to give up something in your life and actually be out there in the field and give your heart and soul and your time. That is the most limiting thing in the world. And you are actually giving it freely.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and so you guys have passion. You are very driven. You just haven't channeled it, where because you have to unlock the mindset that if you had more money, you could actually impact more people. I
Yeah.
say to you, how many people, the first thing every charity I talk to, first thing they ask for is money before time. They ask for money because money is needed to impact people. Okay.
Yeah.
You can hire better people, you can build better buildings, you could, buy better water. There's all these things you could do with money. So it is a necessary evil. But I would say that if you have the drive right now to do what you're doing, because you know what, giving up any part of your life, even going to any country for a year, for a month, that's like extreme interruption of your routine. That takes a lot of guts, right? So if you have that, you can start almost any business with your passion. I mean, I don't care if your passion is gardening. I can probably help you do $1 million business with that, because you don't need a whole lot of people to get that kind of money. In fact, my new mission in life is to help generate or help produce 1 million millionaires, because I think all of you have what it takes to have it. It's just that, just like, and the thing with the money too is this: we see these extreme cases of people with money that abuse it, like on
Mm,
TV,
yeah. Yeah.
on whatever. We see a lot of people who kind of do their thing. I mean, there is a female executive. I don't have permission to use her name, but female executive at QVC years ago. She was really high up, and I thought this woman was like a cutthroat, tough. I mean, she wasn't mean to me, but I felt like she was a professional. She drove a hard bargain. Okay. Well, later on, I found out that she adopted 5 kids from, they're all different countries, in addition to her 2 or 3 kids that she had. So she's like
Mm,
raising 7 or 8 kids. And um, she had this really tough job. And, she was doing I mean, this company was doing really well. So sometimes, what she did is actually at least impact those five kids' lives that she had like adopted, and like the kids are now very successful. Successful meaning that they are, really like functioning and just great human beings in society, generating, jobs and stuff like that. So, how many people are you impacting? And how much more can you do if you had the means to do that? If you had the money that you were begging for, but you were able to generate it yourself, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
And so for me, what I did was, I used to get recruited a lot. So I get LA Children's Hospital. One of my friends was like the social worker there. And whenever they had a gala, they had tough time, like selling tickets, and, they had tough time like making ends meet for even the event for the charity. So, because they had to hire a band, all that stuff. So they'd always ask me to help them raise money, because I didn't have a kid that was dying. This was for the terminally ill wing of the hospital. So she said, whenever I get a parent, the first thing they did, they just like cry their lives out, and that's not what you want to do. You want to like give them like a business plan and how they can
Yeah.
benefit from this. So I was actually helping them do all this stuff, and then I realized, what if we could, instead of depending on the US government for UN or whatever, what if we could help everybody on earth care, so that if 300 million Americans gave $1 to a cause, I mean $1, if $1 for life, we're talking just $1 one time, that is a lot of money, right? And if they gave it voluntarily.
Mm.
So when I was involved with the St. Jude's project, where I designed uh, a collectible, basically it's collectible, so it only ran 1 year. Beautiful Christmas ornaments, because people are buying Christmas ornaments at Christmas time anyway. And these were giftable ornaments. They were huge. They were like probably 6 or 7 inches in diameter. They were all encrusted with Swarovski crystals. They had these beautiful themes. And I signed everyone at the bottom of the ornament, and it came in a giant satin gift box, and with the little, thank you for supporting St. Jude's. So what happens is, when you gift that to someone, it was 1995, and everything, all 1995 went to St. Jude's. So it wasn't like a part of the profits, the whole thing went. They raised millions of dollars from this ornament program, because it was a natural thing. When people were buying and they're being selfish and they're buying, gifts for this person, people they hardly even knew, they were buying like tons of them. And when you tell them, hey, you can gift them this and it makes you look like a great person, and it's only 1995, it's cheaper than anything else you're going to buy, but it's beautiful, and it goes to a great cause, and it's tax deductible. Well, the thing sold really fast. So for those of you who are in that humanitarian field, if you're in Africa, for example, I don't think this organization exists anymore. They had a tough time getting all the different chapters going on, but it was called the Women for Women in Africa. And, they found out, some entrepreneur here in San Diego found out that a lot of the women in Africa, this was when there was a war between Sierra Leone and all the warlords, that the women had to kind of like hold their foot together. Their husbands are going to war, that their sons are gone. A lot of people, have disease and all that stuff. So they would start like a little stall, like for tourists or journalists or whoever, and they would be selling whatever they have. So they decided to help these women start a business, like on the street, and it was like $300. So we went to all the local restaurants here. So, whenever there was a gala, the food was for free. But, the little local spas or whoever, they all, we just told them one by one, there's this thing called the Women for Women, and it only costs like $300 to start a business. And the whole condition is that when they get the money and they become bigger, so they're having second stalls or actually getting to a retail store, they have to pay the $300 back. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was, a lot of little grassroots like this. I mean, like I said, their vision was to have something like this in every city in America, so that they could do this, but they didn't. San Diego is still very active in that, but so what I'm saying is that I think if you can get more people to care, the money will come.
Yeah.
Because like there is, a lot of us, like when you say, well, we're from such and such organization, there's not that emotional connection to, oh my God, I need to stop doing what I'm doing, because 10 minutes of my time and, a couple $1,000, I mean, I can easily make that. And, let me know more, what else can I do to help?
Yeah.
So I think that's, if you look at money that way, it could be a good thing,
Absolutely. What I love, Victoria, about what you're saying is that imagine if uh, all of our, wonderful, passionate humanitarians were in the position to earn as much as they wanted to
Right,
and help as much for the cause as they could. Right? If
right,
all of us, like thousands and thousands of us, were in the position to just say, okay, if I do this work, I'm able to help this many people. But
right,
if I have this much money, I can help this many more people. So what do
right,
I want to choose? And what's even more interesting in that concept is that the more freedom that we have to do whatever we want to, then
right,
we no longer even choosing between leaving our homes to be doing other things, or even if we want to do that, we're able to have all of the other things together. So I feel like having that financial freedom, and not only freedom, but having that capacity to earn as much
right,
as you wish, allows you to have all the priorities in life that you want to, not choosing between one or the other, and also help as many people as you want to,
right,
because you know that you can earn that money, you know where you earned it money from, you no longer be depending on those corporates or on those governments, as you're
right.
saying,
Mhm.
to always fundraising for, this money, or always trying to explain to however many ways to get money, but rather you do that yourself with your own contributions. And I think that even fuels the passion more, because you know that you see the
Yeah,
impact that you're making with your own contributions, right? So that's why I think the main message that I want from this podcast is to say that you all, or we all, have amazing abilities to create as much money as we want to,
right,
using our passion, as you wonderfully said, and channeling that passion to the directions that we want to. And once we know how to do that, we can also decide how we want to design our lives in the way that we channel all of the money to whichever charities, whichever humanitarian work we want to do that. So I think the idea that I can only do this or that, or I can only have this
right,
or that life, or I can only be doing this because of whatever limitations are, from a life coaching perspective, is a mental construct
right,
that we have built over time, and we have believed them so much so that we're not willing to let go of. But if we work on that in the favor of having all, like you were saying, that I was,
yeah.
like you were saying, I wasn't willing to sacrifice my family life over this and this, right?
Over
So the
money, yeah.
same,
No,
exactly. So that's why, having your values in place and having all the money you want, that's possible, and that's there available to you if you work on it. So this is, I think, the message that I want to get and give.
yeah,
What about you, Victoria? I know that we're a bit running out of time, but what would you, the
yeah.
messages you would say?
Yeah, I think first of all, again, once again, I really, all of you out there, I thank you for, anything you're doing, whether it's 10 minutes a day, a year of your life, that you're doing something, you're gifting to the world a little bit of yourself, which is the most important. It's the hardest thing to do, and you're doing it every day voluntarily. And I commend you for that. Thank you for that. And I wish you all the success. In terms of monetizing your passion, trust me on this. I mean, jewelry business is a tough business. There's a jeweler in a Chinese restaurant in any place you go. You know this for a fact. Anywhere place you go, and they're always going out of business. So you're always competing for below cost, things. And I'm still able to actually. Sorry about that. I'm still able to do pretty much what it takes to like sort of stay above and beyond, above the fray, because I was able to just live that clean, consciously clean, making all the decisions. Because, for me, after $2,000 a month, everything else was gravy. So, you know what I mean? Because all I wanted was $2,000 a month, and everything else was gravy. So if I was making $1 million, and I got a call from somebody saying, "Hey, come over," and I remember I actually got a call from one of the executives. This was like maybe 10, 15 years ago. And he said, "Can you come, here on December 10th?" And I said, "Well, let me check," and I had a little birthday party going on for one of my daughter's best friends. And I said, "Well, I can't be there on December 10th." Because, well, it's really too bad because we needed like another $30 million this year. So remember, December 10th was pretty close to the, he said, and everybody's going to get bonuses if we meet our goal. And we thought we'd call the top 5 producers, you being one of them, to just come in, each of you do like another $3 million a day, and you'll be done with that. And I said, "No, I can't do it." So basically, I explained to him why and all that stuff, and I stood firm. I didn't do it. So what happens is, like, next time they call you, they know to call you well in advance. Like right now, I got my schedule all the way out to July, so I can, do my vacations and everything. And they know the stakes have to be big enough for the right reasons. So it's kind of interesting that when you have your priorities. So I would say for all of you, figure out, instead of saying, "I want more money," okay, figure out how much money will it take you to live a happy life. It's like if you want to lose weight, okay. Let's say you want to lose weight, and you say to yourself, I want to lose weight. Like, I'm heavy. Well, I don't know how heavy you are, but okay, I'll take your word for it. Okay, so I say, I want to lose weight. It's a massive, kind of a vague goal. But if you said, "I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 10 weeks," okay, so now you bring it down, and that would make me happy, right? So now you bring it down to 1 pound a week, and then 1 pound a week, and you're like, "Okay, well, what do I have to do to get the 1 pound a week off? Because I'm not willing to go spend, lift weights and all this stuff in the gym. I'm not willing to do that. I have a life." So you say to yourself, "Okay, well, you know what? I could cut out 300 calories a day. That's going to get me to a pound a week." Well, you know what? Then you're like, "Okay, well, today I can cut out, instead of eating 2 pieces of toast, I'll eat one, or maybe you'll eat both, but you'll cut out the butter. The next tomorrow, maybe I'll cut out my second glass of wine. The next day you will cut out, you'll eat a half a sandwich instead of, what is the point is, you now have a roadmap. And now if you said, "Hey, I want to lose, 80 pounds, it's a different thing. But if you just wanted to lose 10 pounds, and at the end of 10 weeks, you hold yourself accountable, and you only lost 6 pounds, you're still better off having done the 6, because you can repeat the next 10 weeks and you're there already, right? So I'm just saying, now when it comes to money, figure out how much money would it take for you to be happy. Before you answer that question, I have the answer, which is, for most people, one of my friends actually runs a happiness academy where he actually goes through this whole mindset thing. He found out that people that are happiest are people that make $75,000 to $100,000 a year, okay, doing what they love to do, because at that point you can pretty much buy whatever you want, and you can pretty much go to all the restaurants that other people can get to, right? As long as you're not going to be living your life with the purpose of showing off things, or your primary goal in life is to make sure you keep up with the Joneses. But if you're just trying to sustain yourself and your family, and you're living this focused life, $75,000 to $100,000 people are happier than the people who make $1 million. This is a fact. I mean, this is why he actually came up with this, because he's like a mergers and acquisitions and money manager. And he said, I used to manage people that made $100,000 a year. And, we had to like really be creative and be very disciplined about, investing money for them. But they were happy. They loved me. We'd hang out. I go to my clients' kids' parties, all this stuff. Then he said, I did such a great job. They moved me to the $1 million people, and the $1 million people were miserable. They had, divorces, they had, like they drank too much, and, they talked bad about other people, and they were unhappy with the brand new car they bought, all this stuff. Okay. Then he said, "Oh my God, like, maybe I just got a bad batch of people." Then now he's doing the, like several $100 million people. They're even more unhappy. So he said that the purpose-driven people that were 75 to $100,000, that were just good, hardworking people that were a little bit of an overachiever, those people are the happiest. So if this message resonates with you, and that's all you really, everything over that is gravy. I'm not saying you shouldn't have anything. In my case, I actually did about $1 million or so in the first 18 months. I did the next 10 million in the next 18 months. But after that, I stopped counting. I didn't care. I was able to overpay my employees. I've been in business for 33 years, since 1989, 32 years. I've only had one person leave my company. And she left because she was 67 and she's now retired. Nobody left, so they want to be here. They like, how we treat people. They love how we treat our customers, right? So I think that for all of you, believe in yourself, and I don't care what your passion is. If make your passion so bright that it's contagious, and people will pay money to be with you, and to hear your message, to help you accomplish whatever it is, and you can then monetize it, and the money will come. Money will come, and the only other thing I want to leave you with is this: if you're trying to raise money, if you're on the field and like if I had an extra $1,000 or extra 10,000, 100,000, I can do so much more. You're always raising money, and you're really an example for the cause that you are involved in. You have to master the art of storytelling. You have to be able to emotionally connect with potential donors. And I teach a lot of that, and it's all free. It's basically you come to the website, and I do a monthly webinar. And I do a lot of other webinars, but that's the one that people really, entrepreneurs, they love that because, authentic, honest, short storytelling that's not designed to sell things, but just to gain respect and loyalty and, trust. That is, like, for example, your story. Yeah, we can talk about your humanitarian story. We can talk about your lovers too, if you want to. But, a lot of times we can talk about, your background, your childhood. But in the world where there's, like people are going from one video to the next video every so many seconds, what story do you tell? And how do you tell it? Who do you tell it to? And there's just a whole art of storytelling, so that the minute they come to your website or the minute they hear your story, you're like, you know what? Whatever it is that woman's doing, I'm going to have to find 10 people to help her. And I'm going to, just hold on just a minute. Let me, don't hang up. Let me just make some calls. This is the reaction you want to have. So a lot of beginning entrepreneurs, like when you go to their website, they talk about, we're the fourth generation, we do this, we do that, I do this, and I got my degree. And, who cares where you got your degree? Who cares how many generations you've been, right? What are you going to do for me? What are you doing to impact the world, really? Like the last thing, if you're hurting, you're emotionally hurting, or, you're trying to get food, your mom trying to get, more nutritious milk for your kids. The last thing you want to do is, figure out where you went to college. No, that's not working, right? So your bio might sound really great for your ego, but you have to you have to tell that story front and center, what it is that you're doing to add value to their life. Yeah. Or anyone else's life, because that's what you're gonna have to do, and how you do it, and how lives are transformed, because people don't pay now for anything. They don't pay for information. It's all free on Google. Like all the stuff that I'm doing is free. But people will pay for real transformation. And that's so the storytelling mastery is a really big issue that I think all the humanitarians, it's an issue that you wouldn't think that you would need, because you would think, oh my God, everybody should it's plain and obvious. No, it's not. It's not. It's almost like saying, whenever I work with a brand new entrepreneur, my product is so practically sells itself. I'm like, then why are you here? Why have you hired me? Because it's obviously not, selling itself. Nothing sells itself. So the storytelling mastery to me is a key factor for many of you. And again, it's just been a joy talking to you. I don't often get a chance to talk to humanitarians or people who work with a bunch of humanitarians, other than when they're asking me for money. um, which is fine too. They're always great people. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Victoria. Yes, it's been so much pleasure to talk to you and talk about money from a different perspective. And I think this is one of the topics that I find humanitarians we don't really talk about, or at least I haven't really experienced talking about. And if anything, we only talk in the framework of how we're lacking it and we have to get it.
Right.
So I really wanted to give the message that let's not only talk about how we should get it, but rather talk about how we all individually can
Right.
create it not only for our personal purposes, for our personal priorities, but also for all the causes that we want to help, and just see from the monetary perspective also how we can help so much more than maybe we're doing now with our own capacities and capabilities, and not just rely on other donors to be helping. So that's
Right.
why it's been so much pleasure to do that. Thank you so much. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah. First, if you're interested in turning your passion into a business, or helping the people you're helping turn their dreams into a business, which I believe everyone can, you can check out my podcast, $1 Million Passion. And in my podcast, most of my guests actually don't have a college degree, and they've all turned their passion into a multi-million-dollar business. None of them had it easy. I mean, none of them had it easy. So they all tell their journey, how they've done it. And then, so $1 Million Passion, you can start listening to it because it's like a little mastermind class on its own. And then you can come to victoriawieck.com for my upcoming book with the same title, and also sign up for any of those free classes, because honestly, I've taken the real skill sets you're going to need to master to run $100 million business. And if any of you want to be that, the next millionaire, because I'm gonna be on a PR tour next week on this, on mainstream media, and how you can be one of them, or maybe even your organization. We can even
Mhm.
employ a whole organization to do that. Then you can come to that website and start listening. And it's a really fun place. There's nothing for you to buy. We try not to sell. I don't have a trick thing where you come there and you're like told to buy. I don't need that anymore. I never have done it. So yeah, come to the website and you'll get, a little insight to how, people can make money honestly, treating everybody well, and just have that happy life. So especially if you're realistic about your view, whether it's 100,000,
Mhm.
200, 300,000, that could be pretty easily monetized, in my opinion. So, but thank you so much for letting me
Amazing.
talk. Yeah, letting me talk too. And I hope, I wish you, all of you listening, a great year next year, and stay in touch. I mean, I'm very interested
Yes.
in helping out, because I've seen firsthand the destruction that the jewelry industry, the fashion industry, everybody, all these. And by the way, just many of you might think, because I'm in jewelry, that I sell, the conflict diamonds and stuff like that. I don't. I do only lab grown diamonds because of that. I don't want to get any, just even environmental factors, even if there's no war going on. The environmental destruction in Africa, the 23 countries where diamonds are mined, is very detrimental to human survival. So I don't get involved in that.
Amazing. So thank you so much. Then we will stay in touch, and I will be encouraging my humanitarians to be making their millions, or starting with hundreds. And then, yeah, and then being on your shows and telling all about how we might have somehow contributed to that as well. So
All right.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye. I think